Are there any drummers in the house?
I play percussion. That's because you couldn't play anything else.
Shut up. Come here, dude.
Hey, man. Did you touch my drum set?
No.
It's just weird, because seems like someone definitely touched my drum set.
Yeah, that is weird. 'Cause I didn't touch them.
I am warning you right now, if you touch my drums, I will stab you in the neck with a knife.
Not quite my tempo. It's all good. No worries. Here we go.
Hey guys, we are on Patreon, so if you want to help support the podcast and the overall Drumheads community, go check us out on Patreon. We've got multiple ways you can contribute to the podcast. So if you want to donate $1, you want to donate $2, you want to donate $5, whatever amount's comfortable with you, every little bit helps. You know, we're trying to make this a bigger and better thing for you guys. We're going to start dropping the podcast part of it and just call it the Drum Heads. So just a little FYI. So this is going to be more of a bigger thing. You know, we're going to try to reach out to more people and things like that. So it just helps the podcast, helps some of the internal costs as well. There's a lot of stuff that goes into making a podcast, surprisingly. So if you could donate whatever you can, like I said, $1, $5, $1,000, $100 million, $1 billion, whatever you got laying around. If you got $1 billion, just, you know, send it my way. We will be sure to put that to good use. But if it's $1 or if it's $5, we'll put that to good use as well. Also, if you want to be like a sponsor of the podcast through Patreon, so if you want to have like a 30-day like feature on Instagram where you want to show off your new drumstick company or your new snare drum company, $50 will get you a whole 30-day. You know, I will repost everything you put on Instagram, so you know, and I'll encourage my followers to go like and follow your page and all that stuff and check you out. And if you want to be on the podcast, so if you're like a new band or you're a young drummer trying to get your name out there, you can also donate $100 and be on the podcast. So it helps the show just continue to grow. So also be sure to go like us on Facebook, go follow us on Twitter, go like us on Instagram, which you probably already are. Subscribe to us on iTunes. You can also find us on Google Play. And also there is an official podcasting landing page that will take you back to all the episodes that we've released. And there's some good ones in there. So if you're new to this, go check it out. iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of it. So again, thank you, and just help continue to grow the Drumheads community. Not Drumheads podcast anymore, just the Drumheads. Because that's what we are. We're all just Drumheads. Talking back and forth, blah, 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 blah. So yes, go check it out, and I would love you forever. Thanks. Hey guys, welcome back to the Drumheads podcast. My name is Daniel, and this is episode 89 with MasonVPT. This is a great episode, guys, because Mason was kind enough to talk to me over Skype. We had a great conversation. We talked about, you know, electronic drums, doing drum covers, but also it got a little deep in the fact that, you know, we've all had setbacks as drummers and stuff like that, and we can, you know, have a discussion about how we overcome certain things, you know, whether it be financial setbacks or, you know, an injury or something like that. So it was a very interesting part of the conversation for sure. But if you hadn't seen Mason on Instagram or YouTube, he's a great drummer. He's a great electronic drummer, which, you know, I think a lot of drummers get a bad rap. Oh, you use electronic drums, you're not a real drummer. No, that's not. I never bought that case. I think it's not true. I mean, if you think about it, if you're being rhythmic, you're a drummer, whether it's on a real kit, whether it's on percussion, or it's on an electric kit. It's all the same, as long as you're making music with it. That's the point of being a drummer, I think. It's not about if it's real or electronic or not. You know, that's just a bunch of nonsense. So we had a great conversation about how there's kits available who mimic, you know, real sounds, you know, very well, but also the fact that if you want to add effects to your drums, you know, it's hard. And if you have an electric kit, you can do those effects pretty easy. You know, it's just pushing a button or changing a setting. So there are upsides to having electronic kits. If you live in an apartment, you know, you're not going to bug your neighbors probably that much because you're not going to really be heard that, you know, you might hear like the hitting of the pads, but that's nothing too abrasive. You know, but if you're in a city, you can't just have a kit unless you have it soundproofed like crazy, and, you know, your got a lot of money to do that. So having an electronic kit is, is good. It's practical. I have one. I use it for practice. And, I've had the people from Tune Tracks on and talking about, the programs you can put on electronic drums and to make them sound better, all that. So it was a interesting conversation about that as well. And you'll be seeing a lot more of Mason. He's going to be coming on board the podcast as well. He's going to be doing some work, working with advertisers and stuff like that. So I'm excited to have him on. I kind of use the podcast as like a almost like a gauge of like, will this person be a good fit for, the drum heads? So, and that's one another thing I'll be changing is we're going to be dropping the pod part out and just calling it the drum heads, just because it flows better. And now drum heads is not just a podcast, it's a brand. So I'm excited to, start adding, more people to it and having more input. So I like having more people to draw from, to have, different perspectives and all that. So it's going to be a good fit having Mason coming on board and helping out as well. And so just go check him out on YouTube. He's got a great channel on YouTube. Does a lot of drum covers. He's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. He's always doing some giveaways. He's with this company called Sticktorial, so you can go check that out as well. And yeah, he's just a very promising, young drummer, and very self-promoting. Likes to just put himself out there and just try to work very hard to make a name for himself. So I'm excited to have him on the podcast, and I'll have him also excited to have him come on board and be part of the Drum Heads. So here it is, episode 89 with MasonVPT. Check it out. Hey guys, welcome back to the Drumheads podcast. My name is Daniel, and I am joined by Mason VPT. How are you, Mason?
I'm pretty good. How's it going?
It's going good. I'm actually off today, so today is a good day to do a podcast because there's nobody in my house to disturb me.
Exactly, that worked out great.
Yeah, no little kids wandering in, wanting to be on the podcast, which is all right if they do, but it's a good day. So, but how's your morning going so far?
Pretty good. I'm actually off as well, so this worked out great for me.
Nice. Is that?
Yeah.
Well,
been doing filming.
Some filming. Yeah. I when I take the day off, everybody's like, "What are you gonna do?" I'm like, probably record a couple of podcasts. They're like, "You're such a weirdo." I'm like, I know. So what do you do for a living?
I actually not too many people know this, but
secret.
I don't really mention it very much, but I work a rotating shift job at a place called Fuyao Glass. It's a glass making factory.
Cool. That sounds
that's
very interesting. Because my day job is I work in a medical warehouse. Putting up medical supplies and crap like that. So I hear you. It's like it's weird having the day job because you feel like that's not the important thing. It's like
exactly.
I want to do the YouTube Skype and drums and stuff and but I'm always curious because there's a lot of us out there like you and I who have the day job but kind of that just pays the bills, keeps the roof over the head kind of thing, but our passion is doing something else. So that's cool.
Yeah, and that's completely okay too, because
I
mean, no matter what kind of job you got, I mean, everybody wants to make a living doing what they love, but in the meantime, you gotta find a way to pay the bills.
Yeah, totally.
Until you do make it in what you love.
Yeah, totally. Then that other job can piss off.
Exactly. Yeah.
So cool.
I mean, with my job, I work. It's a 7-day swing shift rotation, so it's like 7 days. 7 days of first shift, 7 days of second shift, 7 days of third shift, and like 4 days off after that. But I mean, if you're really passionate about what you're doing, I mean, you can make time for it. I mean, I'm super busy, but I make time for everything.
Oh yeah, I hear you.
Hardly no sleep, but it's okay.
Yeah, it drives my wife crazy because I'll be up till like 1:30 in the morning, trying to arrange this, figure out that kind of stuff, and You know, she's like, how are you not exhausted? I'm like, well, I am, but I'm a night person, so it's like I function better. Like I tell people I don't really hit my stride till about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it seems like most creative people are like that.
Yeah. Well, and it was, you know, I played drums, you know, before I got married. You know, I was playing gigs at, you know, bars and things like that, and staying up late, you know, practicing late, and so when it's hard to get out of that mindset, you know.
Yeah, it really is. I'm actually more tired on first shift than I am, you know, on midnights or something. It's great.
Well, that's that you're programmed more like me, you know, just kind of that night owl kind of mindset, which is, you know, you see things differently, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, it seems like at night your brain's a little more active. Like you try to sleep and your brain's just nonstop.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, so I guess let's just kind of, you know, let's just go through your background. So you're from Decatur, Illinois, and so did you come from a musical family, or, you know, are you kind of like the lone wolf like me?
Well, not really. My whole family was music, but my dad is a guitarist, and he's been in bands since I was little and stuff. And he actually teaches at a music store around here.
Oh, nice.
So he's like the '80s shredder, you know, guitar player, and it's like everybody's always asked me, why didn't you play guitar? And I'm like, well, when I was little, they had band practices at our house, and the drummer would leave his drums at, you know, in our basement. And I'm sitting there like 3 years old watching them practice, and I'm watching this guy hit these things, and they're loud, and I'm like, man, I want to mess around with that. So I mean, it just kind of happened. I mean, I messed around on it when I was little, and I don't know if I was just a natural, but I kind of just picked it up myself.
Kind of just naturally gravitated toward it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so who was maybe that first influence, other than that guy that was, you know, jamming out with your dad, that really caught your ear, I guess you could say?
Wow.
That's always a tough question, I know. There's so many.
Yeah, especially when you got to try to think back really far, too. It's crazy because everybody asks me all the time, you know, is it hard to learn how to play drums? And I'm like, honestly, I don't remember.
Yeah. It just...
I was really little.
Yeah.
I don't know if it just kind of happened naturally, but I don't know. But, I mean, as far as influence goes, when I first was starting out, man, I mean, the first thing I remember, probably later on, was people always are going to hate me for this, but I say... I don't know why there's so much hate towards Nickelback, but Nickelback.
Oh, okay.
When I was little, I mean, that was one of the first like rock bands I really started listening to, which is weird. I mean, and Blink-182 came along. I'm like, that took me in a totally different direction. But
who is the drummer for Nickelback? Because I'm blanking on his name right now.
His name, I'm pretty positive his name is Dave or David Adair.
Okay. Because I mean, when I watched something on Facebook the other day, it was Nickelback covering a ZZ Top song at some award show, and they really killed that song. They did a great job covering it, and they sounded good, and it kind of made me think like, okay, I know Nickelback is kind of the joke of like the whole music community. It's like, oh, if it wasn't, you know, I forgot what the meme is, you know, it's like something Nickelback, but you know, they're not that bad of a band, you know, and at my age, I'm more forgiving, you know, versus, you know, when I was a teenager, you know, it's like, oh, Nickelback, you know, and I think it's hacky and it's kind of dumb, you know, because as long as they're making music and they're passionate about it, you know, who cares, you know?
Yeah. Oh, and my bad about his name. I just butchered that. His first name is Daniel. Daniel Adair.
Okay, yes. Because I want to say that he had switched from like another band of that ilk, and I forgot, it might have been like Puddle of Mud, like their drummers might have switched at one point.
Oh yeah, he used to be in Three Doors Down.
Okay, that's what it is. Yes, Three Doors Down.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he moved to that. He moved to Nickelback from there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what happened there exactly, but
I don't know. That's a really interesting question, and it's funny because I know the bass player for Three Doors Down, so I'll have to ask him.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
I mean Nickelback, they figured out a system. They figured out their system. They make platinum songs, and it's just people hate on them, but they're doing what they love, and they do it well.
Yeah. Well, and I think why people hate on them is because they're just jealous. I think more than anything, it's not that they make bad music. It's just they're like, why are they successful? It's like, well, obviously they practiced, they found a sound they liked, and they went for it.
Yeah.
Don't hate on them for it. If you're sucking in your garage because you're not the next Nickelback or whatever, just get over yourself, kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But you said Travis Barker. What about Travis really, made you kind of perk up and change the way you look at drums?
Well, I remember when I first heard the song "All the Small Things." I still remember that. That was just, I was like, man, this is different. And I remember somebody showed me the video. I'm just watching this guy play, and he's like all tatted up, and he looks like he's just going insane on the drums. And I'm like, man, this is something I really got to work towards. I want to do this. That was the first time I really. I'm guessing what I'm trying to say is he made me pretty serious about it.
Yeah, because he definitely came into he brought drumming kind of like into the limelight kind of thing. Made it cool again.
Yeah, he's like I don't even know how much it's actually happened, but he's like a celebrity for drums, and it's like, I don't know, it seems rare to me that would happen, but
yeah, but I think it was a combination of right timing, because Blake came out of that kind of post-grunge music scene. So, grunge music was all about, the attitude, and so much about the, just the angst of, kind of sticking it to the man kind of thing. And Blink-182 is kind of like a counterculture to that. It's like, we're going to have fun, we're going to play good music, but we're not going to take ourselves too serious. And, I think a lot of drummers were wanting someone like that. They were wanting somebody who, really put themselves out there, and it's like, look, here's my custom drum company. I got my own clothing company. I'm on, I'm in all these rap videos. I remember he would be like in, like a Puff Daddy or P Diddy.
Yeah,
I'm dating myself because he was Puff Daddy when I was in elementary school, or not elementary school, middle school and high school. But anyways, you'd see him in those videos, and you'd be like, wow, there's Travis Barker. He's playing with P Diddy.
Yeah, and I remember he started getting on YouTube and doing, doing drum covers for like rap songs. And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. So going back to your drumming beginnings. Now, did you do like school band, or did you just stick to just playing in like kind of garage band kind of things?
I mostly stuck to garage band kind of things with friends in high school, but I messed around with the school band thing just a little bit. I think I might have been in it for maybe 1 year of high school, but it wasn't. I'm like, man, this is not what I thought it was going to be. This is kind of how I thought of it. But
what did you think it was going to be? Kind of more just fun, or was it real strict and kind of lame?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I thought. It was strict, it was lame, but and then of course later on you figure out, man, it'd be kind of nice if I would have learned some of that stuff.
Well, I did all of the school band stuff, and I still can't read music because I fake my way through it. So don't feel too bad, because it's just. I did it more or less just so I could get into drums as many ways as I could, and but yeah, I hear you. It like, especially if you're doing like symphonic band, you know, it's a lot of waiting for 90 measures just to hit a triangle bell, you know, and it's like, ugh,
Yeah.
this sucks. You know, I want to do something different, but you know, you kind of just go with it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's probably why I just figured it was lame. And I'm like, you know, I'm just going to go play music with my buddies in the garage and
Yeah.
just do things that way.
So what kind of band did you first start with your friends?
Well, when I first, let's see, about junior high time, I was getting into some pretty heavy music. I liked the hardcore bands when I was in junior high and stuff. I still do. I like metal, you know, the hardcore stuff. But that's when I first started out. That's, you know, playing in bands. That's what I wanted to do. And we were all metalheads, and we were all trying to play this crazy music and
Stuff like Joey from Slipknot and stuff like that.
Yeah. We were trying to play like As I Lay Dying and like, you know, crazy stuff.
Yeah. I was into the Slipknot thing for a little bit. They came out when I was like a sophomore in high school, and I remember going to see them at Ozfest and just like this is crazy, kind of, you know, like these dudes are insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what I played around with that kind of music for a long time, trying to. I mean, that stuff is really difficult. The double bass and stuff, but I played around with it for, you know, like when I was in high school and junior high, and then I guess when I got older, I started to venture out to stuff. I like all music really, but I started to venture out more in those. I was playing stuff that was slower, that was more mellow, and I was playing rock and alternative and stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I really like everything. I don't really hate anything.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I strongly dislike country. That's the one that's the one style of music I just cannot hang with, and just don't get. I just don't get it. But it's
yeah, I think it's okay more so now. But I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of opinions on this subject. But
yeah, probably.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, now it seems like country's more just rock music with a country voice. You know, that's what it seems like.
Yeah,
but
I just, that voice just I don't know, it just grates on me. It's just so, it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. I don't know what it is. I guess because I grew up, I'm from the South, but I identify myself more as a Northerner, so it just irritates me, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I went to Nashville, and there's a lot of it there. But
yeah,
it's a cool place.
Oh yeah, Nashville is a great place, and you know, I don't begrudge any of those guys. It's just, you know, I just like to keep it real on that subject, because some people are like, yeah, I love country. I'm like, meh, because that was one of the first questions. Anytime I would date a girl, you know, be like, do you like country? They'd be like, yeah, I love country. I'm like, all right, next, you know. And when I met my wife, I remember that was like the first question I asked her. I'm like, so do you like country? She's like, oh, I hate it. I'm like, okay, we can continue talking.
All right, good. I don't have to escape out the bathroom window of the restaurant now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, it, you know, if you love it, like it, that's you know, God bless. But me, you know, it's just something I just can't go with. But sorry, that's one of the tangents that I go on sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I can understand.
Yeah. So did you still do? Are you still doing, like, you know, bands with your buddies, or are you kind of just sticking to, you know, your YouTube drumming and all that?
I'm not messing around with any musicians locally or anything. I mean, it's really hard to do with a rotating shift job.
Yeah, totally.
Otherwise, I probably would be doing it, but I've been kind of doing the freelance thing, really. I mean, there's people that come to me and they need drum tracks or something recorded to their music, and I do stuff like that. But
well, it's probably because
I collaborate with musicians too. So
Well, and you can do it on your schedule too, which is always great. You know, someone comes to you and said, "Hey, I want some tracks done." You know, if you're working, you know, you can kind of like, all right, here's when I can record. Here's my days off, and you can really focus on it. You know, which is, you know, yeah, it makes sense. You know, especially if you're wanting to stay in the drumming world, but you're trying to work it around your work schedule and all that. You know, it's easier when you're kind of like your own entity, I guess you could say. It's just you.
Yeah, and you still feel good, like you're still doing the band thing, even though you're, you know, not really doing it, but you're doing it online, so it's still good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and I think doing it online is a lot more. It's almost more fun because it really challenges yourself to be more creative, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some musicians that have asked me to do drums for their music, and I hear it, and I'm like, whoa, I'm gonna have to get real creative with this one, and yeah, I mean, it causes you to be a pretty well-rounded drummer.
Yeah, totally. So when did you start your YouTube channel, for your, you know, for your drumming and all that?
I started it, man, I'm gonna say, I think it was about 7 years ago, actually.
Oh, nice, wow.
Yeah. And it didn't even really start out as, I guess my idea wasn't like, I wasn't sitting there like, oh, I'm going to start playing drums on YouTube. It was like, I actually worked for a guy that created his own electronic drums. And he was out of Decatur also. And he hired me, and I helped him build these drums. And then he's like, well, I want to get you on camera, you know, playing these drums so we can kind of promote these, and it'd be like a promotional thing. So you can get on there and you can show them off. You can tell people about these drums and stuff. So that's kind of how I started doing it. And like, we made a couple videos, and he kind of showed me ropes with it too. He taught me how to record electronic drums. He taught me how to use video edit software, and I mean, really, if it wasn't for this guy, I don't know if I'd be doing it. But it's pretty interesting. But yeah, so I put out a couple videos on there, and it's like, man, why are these getting so many views? Like, I started kind of freaking out at first, and I started trying to get creative with it. I'm like, well, these people are really liking what I'm doing, which is cool. So I'm gonna keep doing it. I started being creative with my song choices, and it started to be something that I really loved doing, and I've done it ever since. So
when you do one of the videos, how long does it usually take, like from recording it to posting it to YouTube? Is it, you know, is it labor intensive to get it all synced right, you know, and all that stuff? Because I'm totally out of the loop when it comes to that stuff. Like I would freak out if I had to like sync a video to audio that's separate with different tracks and all that stuff. That stuff's just way over my head sometimes. Is it difficult, or is it, you know, it just comes easy to you?
It's difficult sometimes. I'm actually right now I'm in the process of getting a whole new different video editing software. So I'm going to be learning something new here, because for basically all the time I've been on YouTube, I've only had videos from one camera angle, and I'm trying to really change that. I want to do multiple and stuff. So it's something I'm learning too. I've always just done it the easy way and just did one camera view and you know, sync it up with the audio, and there you go. Yeah. But I'm trying to venture out.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, I totally admire people who can do that, because it's a skill set that I just do not have. I've tried doing like videos like sometimes, and I'm like, all right, screw it, I'm done. I tap out, you know, kind of, you know, it's just, there's so many things I'm trying to do sometimes. Like you find your strength, you find your weaknesses, and you know, that's one of my weaknesses is that kind of video editing and stuff like that. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's time consuming, and like to answer your question, I guess start to finish, some of these take maybe 7 hours start to finish.
Okay, it's not too bad. I wasn't sure if it was like a couple of days. I know some people get like wicked serious into, sending it to another person so they can like mix the audio correctly, and then you got somebody who like does like colorizations and stuff like that on videos, and I'm like, wow, that seems like a lot of work.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go to that link, it's gonna take you a couple days for that.
Yeah.
Then you got to rely on everybody else's schedule too. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I do everything myself, so I can just go boom, boom, boom. But
Yeah, which is cool. I like that. I like that. You have the knack for not only drumming, which is a skill that's difficult in itself, but then to apply video and then the audio mixing components to it. That's just like woo, kind of thing.
yeah, somebody told me one time, they're like, "Man, you do all that yourself, man. You're such a nerd."
You're like, thank you. I wear that proudly. Yeah. At least I do. Yeah, I do. But so with your drums now, you use is it cat percussion? Is that the name of the electronic drums you use?
Yeah, cat percussion. Yeah,
Okay.
Cat with a K.
With a K, yeah. It's I'm trying to remember who's part of that drum company. Is it somehow connected to a head, drumsticks, and all that? I was trying to do my research on it. I'm like, oh, I knew it, but I couldn't remember where it came out of. Yeah.
I'm not sure the story on how it happened, but or as far as how they started out, but I know right now they are somehow affiliated with DW drums now.
Oh, that's what it's DW. Yes, you're right. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if it started out that way or what, but I do know they're affiliated with them, a branch or something.
Mm-hmm. That's what it was. Yeah, for some reason I was thinking it was part of that. I know a head drumsticks are part of that Big Bang distributing company, and like they have like 20 different products that are all in that same umbrella. But I was like, oh yes, it is DW. When you said that, I'm like, that's what it is. Yeah. So what makes those electric drums different than the other companies? I won't say their names, but the other companies.
See, I get questions like that all the time, and it's just I haven't really played around on much, different kits from other companies, but from what I have played on, I'm not a big fan of mesh heads.
Agreed. Yes. Yep.
So these are, I mean, that's definitely a major thing. Is these are like rubber pads almost. So, and I guess that's a difference. And really I used to use like drum samples, like Addictive Drums and different stuff like that, drum software. But now, I mean, using the cat drums, the kits that are already in the module that they've already set up in there are just, they sound so good already. I just use those. So
really?
everything is directly from that module. So the sound of it's so good that I can just, record it right there, and I don't even have to use any other kind of software.
Nice. That was one of my questions, because I was like, I have an electric kit. It's a cheapy one, and I got the Tune Track Superior Drummer to add to it just so it sounded better. But that's cool.
Yeah.
that I was, because I was watching your videos, and I'm like, that kit sounds good. So that's the kit that's in the module.
Yeah, those are kits that are from the module. There's like, of course, I mean, you can customize it from all the sounds they got in there, but there's a few kits that were already programmed in there when I opened it up, and that I still use for the videos. There's like 3 of them, I think, that I switch back and forth from depending on what song it is, because some kits sound better with this song, or you know, blah blah blah.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. That's one of the struggles with electronic drums is finding kits that sound good, you know, and realistic. You know, they don't sound like machine gun kind of sounds.
Yeah, they don't sound like space drums.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So, do you have a preference between playing electric drums versus acoustic, or are you more, you know, comfortable with electric?
I think electronic drums are just fun, just to play around on it, or especially for practice. But considering I live in an apartment, that's the main thing. Is I'm sure if I lived, you know, somewhere else where I didn't have to worry about bugging anybody, I'd probably be doing acoustic. I mean, I definitely play acoustic live when I do play live, but yeah, that's the main thing. And I mean, another thing about that is if you're going to record acoustic drums, I mean, you got to get the mixer and the mics and all that. That gets pretty pricey. It does.
And you know, I think electronic drums have gotten a bad rap over the years. You know, I think you see a lot of drummers have the attitude, well, if it's not an acoustic kit, they're not a real drummer. I'm like, that's not true. You know, I think there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of fantastic electronic, you know, kit drummers out there that, you know, that really, and they keep getting better. It's not like they've gotten worse or anything. They keep improving electronic drums. Sometimes you can't even tell. Like you know, you could probably like walk up to somebody and just start playing something just audio in their ear and ask, you know, the man on the street kind of thing, is this real kit or acoustic? I mean, electronic kit. They'd be like, it's real, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's advanced a long way. And you really can't tell anymore.
Yeah. So how did you get hooked up with the cat percussion?
Let's see. I'm trying to think when that started. Well, for the time when I first started playing on YouTube, I was using this guy's drums that he created. And if you look back real far on my YouTube, you know, to where my old videos, you know, where I was using that kit, and you can see where I went from that to cat percussion. But there was a long period there whenever I wasn't doing any videos for like probably a year, maybe even 2 years. There was a span there where things happened in my life where, you know, you're moving out, your family issues and things, and but the kit I was using when I first started on YouTube was not mine. So this guy actually moved to a different state and took everything with him. So I'm sitting here and I've got a following on YouTube and everything, and I'm like, oh great, what do I do? Because now I have nothing. And for a long time, I'm just trying to get myself on my own feet and get myself started, you know, jobs and things. And finally, it came around to the point where I had money, you know, my own money, and I was saving up, and I actually decided to contact them myself. I think I emailed them. I probably messaged them on every single social media outlet. I sent them. I tried to be professional, as professional as I could with it, and I told them I was. I gave them links, and I said, "Yeah, go check out my stuff, and I want to get one of your kits." And the guy messaged me back. I don't know if it was a luck thing or the right guy seen my message or what. 'Cause you never know. But he actually messaged me back and said he liked what he saw, and he wanted to work with me on that. So that's kind of how that came along.
Nice. And so it sounds like, yeah, like it's all about timing. I think life is more or less about timing. You know, I think luck it's a funny word to use sometimes. I think it's just right place, right time, you know, kind of thing. And
yeah,
it's funny because the guy I grew up playing with, you know, he played guitar. You know, we were in bands from, you know, when we were in high school, when we got out of high school, when we were both, you know, attempting college. The word attempt is in there. And, you know, and the last band we were both in, you know, it kind of fizzled out, and we kind of, you know, we didn't like, you know, stop being friends. We just kind of went our separate ways. And, you know, and now he's the bass player for Three Doors Down. So it's like, you know, it's like, should have stuck with you, man. You know, I should have stayed with you. And, you know, but it's all about timing, you know, and, but, you know, it's just one of those things. It's not like they'd have been like, oh, well, you know, hey, dude from, I'm blanking on the guys from, you're out of the band because he's got to bring his friend with him. You know, that wouldn't have happened. But, you know, you know, it's just, timing is always a good thing. So
yeah, and,
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say when I started doing the videos with the new kit, the cat percussion stuff, it was almost like I was starting fresh because it had been like 2 years or something like that since I had even made a video, and it's like the following that I had back then, I don't know if they had probably just forgot or unsubscribed or something. Like, man, this guy stopped putting out videos, so I lost a lot of that, what I did have. So it's kind of like I was starting fresh, and then later on I did a series of videos with the Cat KT3 kit, and then something happened again, and you know, life happens again. So it's like I wasn't able to make videos for another almost a year.
Yeah.
And then finally I'm back again, and I'm like, I call the guy from Cat, and I'm like, hey, I'm ready to get one of the new ones. I got the Cat KT4, and I guess here I am using their latest kit, and everything's going good again.
Nice. Yeah. I totally hear you on the setbacks, because, you know, I had a back injury a couple of years ago, and I had to sell my nice Tama kit. You know, I kept some of the cymbals, but, you know, I got rid of a lot of stuff, and it hurts. You know, it stings when you have to, you know, give up something to compensate for, you know, for me it was medical bills, you know, but to, you know, re-embrace it and get, you know, come back to it, it's always a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, the setbacks are tough. It's like, especially if you're in something pretty deep where you gotta make ends meet, and you gotta sell what you got, and you're like, oh my god, what am I gonna do now?
Yeah, it's brutal, but, you know, you come out stronger. I think, you know, I had a setback last year, and you know, luckily things have leveled out and things look to, you know, be on the up and up. But it's, you know, it makes you grateful for what you have, for sure.
Yeah, it really does.
So, you know, when I look at your page, I always see this stick twirl, and when I was going to talk to you, I wanted to talk about that, because I suck at doing stick twirls. Like, it ends up in a disaster every time I try to do some type of stick trick. So when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to think where to start with that. I think I seen it on Instagram somehow like a while back, because I had just recently, I think I've only had an Instagram for maybe a year or just a little bit longer than a year. I got on the Instagram kick finally, and I'm like, man, I've been missing this for a long time. Like, it's my favorite outlet. But anyway,
yeah.
I think I seen it somehow, came across their page, and I was like, man, what is this? So I started looking at it, and I'm like, I've never seen anything like this before, so I wanted to try it. So it was kind of one of the same things, kind of the same thing I did with Cat Percussion, really. It was like I messaged them on like pretty much everything. I'm like, hey, I want to try one of your, how can I order this? And I don't know if they went to check out my page, or somehow they ended up checking me out, and they wanted to work with me or have me join their families. I was like, wow. That's kind of how that ended up. So I am an artist for stick twirl.
Nice. Now, are you good at doing stick twirl without it, or or is that something you're like, oh, I need that?
There's various videos. I don't do it all the time, but there's various videos where I'll whip something out just randomly, and they're like, "Whoa, where'd that come from?"
Yeah.
I mean, I play around with them. I don't do anything that's like crazy fancy, but I mean, usually you're gonna try to throw in some stick tricks on your videos. You're gonna end up doing a lot of takes. You're gonna have a lot of outtakes.
yeah, totally. Or just you'd be like, all right, no stick twirls. Gotta not do it at all because it's just gonna end up disastrous. After take 87, you're like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but I wanted to try that because I'm like, hey, this thing goes. You put your finger through it, and you try to do some different tricks with it or whatever, and you don't drop your stick because it's already
attached. Yeah.
Yeah, your fingers through it, so you're not going to drop it. So it's kind of interesting. It's a cool concept.
Well, and it looks like it could solve the problem with you dropping your drumsticks almost completely, even without having to do stick tricks. I remember I had posted something, I think a giveaway you were doing a while back, and I was reading through some of the comments, and some of the people are like, "Oh, this is so lame," And I'm like, you're missing the point, people. Yes, that's one of the advantages of it, but the other advantage is, you have something to almost anchor the stick to you. So, if you're, someone who notoriously drops drumsticks a lot, I'm not one of those people, but, I know that I've had friends who, they drop sticks all the time. Either their hands get real sweaty or, there's a lacquer on the stick, and it's just, you could use that and not even do a stick twirl. You could just, have a safety, built in to keep you from dropping your sticks.
Yeah, and like people ask me stuff about it all the time, and they say, do you use it for the twirling itself, or does it have other uses? And I'm like, well, I mean, it solves the problem with dropping your sticks, that's for sure. And but really, my favorite part about it is when you, I don't know, I think of it like you're holding it like a gun, you got your trigger finger in there.
Yeah.
And it gives you a whole different grip on a drumstick. So it's like it's interesting to play with because now you've got a different grip, and it's actually a really nice grip. I mean, when you get used to it, like, man, it's a nice feel. Like, it's pretty cool. It's a nice pivot point, it's like, it's different.
Yeah, totally. I love when you'll go on Instagram and you're flipping through and you'll see all this cool stuff that solves like just small problems. I like that. When you can find a product that, like Big Fat Snare Drum comes to mind. Having a different snare sound without having to change your snare. I know drummers have agonized over that for years, and it's just as simple as putting another drum head that's easily removed on and off. It's like, oh, why did someone not think of this sooner?
Yeah.
And I like those little things.
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff floating around on Instagram. I've noticed.
Yeah, it's a fun time right now for being a drummer because there's so much cool little trinkets you can find online that when I was growing up you couldn't find this stuff. The internet was like it was dial up, so you didn't have the access to find this cool stuff if you're a teenager or a high schooler. You just kind of relied on word of mouth and flipping through Modern Drummer magazine and flipping through the back. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'll have to check that out. Now it's like it's everywhere. It's a good time.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it's a great time to be a drummer. It's a great time to be alive, really. I mean, just all the stuff that everything's online. You can, any idea you have, you can make it happen. It's like, it's not like it used to be where, you didn't have the internet or, our parents and grandparents and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and and the access to information. If you want to look up a drummer, you've never heard of. Like you're a new drummer. And you're like, oh, I've heard about Buddy Rich. I've heard he's like the the godfather of just modern drumming and drumming in general. And and you go and check out his videos. It's so simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you get on one of those YouTube rabbit holes, and then 4 hours later, you're like, what was this? Oh, yes, I was supposed to go to sleep. Damn it. So, yeah. So what's in the future for you? What's the plans for you and your YouTube channel? Or you you're wanting to add some multi-angles to your videos, but anything else you're kind of really wanting to aspire to?
Well, yeah, I did mention the multi-angle stuff and different things like that with video, but I mean, there's a lot of good things going on with stick twirl too. I mean, and there's a lot of good stuff. Like they featured me in their brochures and stuff, which was a cool thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I actually have another stick twirl giveaway happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
So people, I mean, ever since the first one, everybody's asking me to do more. So I got another stick twirl one going on right now. It's like this huge prize pack, got a bunch of stuff in it, stick twirl stuff.
Nice.
But yeah,
I'll have to repost that. And you offer Skype lessons as well too.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to mention. I get so many different kinds of questions from people all the time, and a lot of stuff is about learning drums and things like that. So it's really cool. It's really humbling and stuff to have like kids come to you and say, "Hey, I've seen some of your videos and you've inspired me to play drums and I want to start learning. I want to buy a kit." And you're just like, "Wow, this is just so crazy." I mean, it's motivating and inspiring for me. So
yeah,
it's a crazy thing.
So when you do the Skype lessons, what's your approach to it?
My approach to it is, I got a handful of people that are doing it. But basically what I do is, I mean, with electronic drums, it's pretty easy, or a lot, maybe it might even be simpler to do it with electronic drums, but I put if I'm using a laptop or if I'm using my phone or whatever for Skype, I set up a little table and I put the speakers by the phone. So, and it's kind of just figuring out how they're going to hear good and how I'm going to hear good. But once you get that figured out, and I mean, as far as what I'm teaching on there, it basically comes down to what kind of position they are. It's like, have you never played before, or are you completely a beginner and played a little bit? Or I interview them basically a lot of questions, and I figure out what they like and different things. Because I mean, you go to a music store and they're gonna get drum lessons and they're gonna teach you, tap tap tap,
Yeah. And just the basics. Yeah,
it's just the basics. But I mean, of course, there's that also. But I mean, some people just want to learn different things. I'm kind of trying to offer just whatever you want to learn is what kind of how I'm doing it. It's like you want to learn rudiments, I'll do rudiments. You want to learn you want to focus on just music learning, song learning, I'll do that. I just kind of figure out how they are. So
yeah,
and it's really personal.
Yeah. Well, and I think that helps. It relaxes the person learning, but it's probably better for you as well that you can, cater your teaching to the individual versus, just kind of a blanket, generic kind of way.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you still got the stuff like, technique and, how to hold sticks or stuff for beginners and all that. But I consider it like almost like a drum coach,
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. Someone that kind of, like a fitness trainer, push you in the right ways and telling you the right ways to do things and stuff like that. So yeah, totally. Cool. Well, I always like to ask this question: is what do you like to do outside of drumming? Do you have any other hobbies, or is it just drumming?
Let's see. Yeah, that's another one I don't mention too much.
or
Actually,
yeah, if you don't want to say it, you could keep it, the secret.
oh, I can go ahead and tell. It's fine.
Okay.
It's gonna make me seem a lot more nerdy, but that's okay.
That's
I do sleight of hand card magic.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, one of my sons is kind of getting into that, and which is making me kind of like explore that as well. So, yeah, that's cool. There's a where I get my Japanese cuisine from. There's a gaming store right beside it, and those guys they're cool. They it's a tight knit community of people who do that as well.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
I've always been fascinated by it. I mean, ever since I first saw David Blaine, a long time ago. Man, it'd be so cool to be able to do anything with a deck of cards, and it's like that's kind of just how I started playing with it.
Yeah. I watched something with him last night. I was watching something on YouTube about crazy magic tricks or something like that. I don't know how I think I had started out going to look at your videos, but it was like on the side. It's like, hey, check this out. I'm like, oh, top 10 magic tricks. I'm like, oh, I have to watch that. So
yeah, the rabbit holes.
The rabbit hole, it's for sure the rabbit hole. But yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't think that nerdy is not even like, it's almost like a cool thing. Like the stuff I was all into when I was in high school was nerdy, and now it's all of a sudden it's cool. It makes no sense to me. Like, I had to keep the fact that I was a Star Wars nerd under wraps. I had to keep the fact that like I liked like X-Men comic books and all that stuff under wraps. Now it's like you're not cool if you do not like Star Wars or
Yeah.
Captain America and all that. I'm like what the hell? I went through school being tortured to death for being nerdy, and now like it's all right. Like I don't I don't get it.
It's like it's an old outlook on things, or an old point of view now. It's like what stuff when we were in junior high or high school. It's like, man, that stuff's so nerdy, and now it's like that's so cool. I think it's just an old view, I guess, that we have. But it's like,
yeah,
do I think I'm gonna be nerdy? But really, you're not. But
well, I think there was and I think there was so many people who hid the fact they liked Star Wars and stuff like that. And then, until they're like, I'm like, well, obviously somebody liked it because it wouldn't have been still successful back then. And, I think now it's like people are like, yeah, I like it. Because I have friends on Facebook that with the high school, it's like, oh, I'm going to go see the new, whatever, Captain America, Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I'm like, dude, did you, make fun of me to no end in high school about liking this stuff? Now you like it? I'm like, yeah, like, ugh, this is so lame. But, oh well.
Yeah.
It's part of life. Well, cool, man. Well, yeah. Well, I always ask that question just for the fact that I like hearing the different answers. Because I would say about 80% of the time, whoever I'm interviewing, they say something completely different than drums, which is great. I like to hear the fact there's people out there who have a hobby outside of playing drum. Like I'm a big movie nerd, obviously Star Wars and comic book nerd, but it keeps you grounded. I think if you get, I think sometimes too obsessed with one particular thing, it can turn out to be a bad thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like you gotta take a break, and especially if you're doing it every day for hours and stuff. It's just, you take a break and do something else for a couple of days, your other hobby or whatever you like to do, and get kind of refreshed.
Yeah, it turns that thing you really love where it's not a burden. You know, I don't want ever me doing a podcast or ever playing drums to be a burden to me.
Right.
Yeah. So, always find those answers fascinating. But yeah, well, cool, man. Well, I think I appreciate you for being on. So, so people can find you on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, I believe.
Yeah, you can literally find me on anything just using my just use my YouTube name. You know, at MasonVPT on basically anything.
Okay. And we didn't even get to why why you had that name. Totally blanked over me.
Oh yeah.
We had talked about it before we started recording, and I'm like, I kept sitting here. I'm like, I know there was something else I forgot to ask him. So, so how did that name come about?
Oh, it started out when I first started doing YouTube with that guy and his drums. He had this thing for his drums, this little slogan called virtual percussion technology. Because everything that he was doing was electronic or software, so it's like, you know, virtual percussion technology. So it was, I kept the YouTube name even after we stopped working together and stuff, but I just kind of kept it and it stuck. So that's just kind of what I tell people when they ask me.
Nice.
And it still makes sense. It still makes sense because I do, you know, electronic stuff. So
yeah, that's cool. Well, I was trying to think of it in my head because, like, I knew percussion was the P, but the V and the T, I'm like, have to think about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, nice. Well, that's cool. Yeah. Are you on Twitter as well, or Twitter?
Yep, I'm on the Twitter.
I don't do a lot of Twitter, but you know, it's almost you have to have all this stuff just to be relevant these days until there's something else they make up. You know, I'm always dreading that day when they're like, "Oh, you're not on blah blah blah." I'm like, "What's blah blah blah?" You know, so I'm always trying to keep an ear to the ground and keep up with what's going on social media wise for sure, because it's always changing.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some new thing that's just going to take over, but I'd hate for that to happen because I'm in love with Instagram so much. I would hate for that to go.
Me too, brother. I'm like dreading, like, please, Instagram, stay relevant forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate you being on, and I'll have you on again, definitely, and just talking electronic drums. I think it's a fun topic. I find it very interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. There's a lot of people don't care for it, but I mean, I think they're getting more and more. They're actually getting more and more popular, in my opinion. I think, but yeah, I mean, I see a lot more people use them than I have been seeing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of guys I follow on Instagram who have, you know, electronic drums and put up great videos of them doing stuff with electronic drums. You know, I think they're you know, it's just a cool instrument. And when I sit behind an electronic kit, you can do things differently than an acoustic kit. You know, changing the sounds is obvious, but you can add like these weird sound effects and stuff, which is so awesome.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do that with the acoustic kit. You know, unless you're in like a high class studio and you can be like, hey, throw some flanger on that. You know, and you can't do that. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, you could literally sit down each day and say, okay, what do I want my drums to sound like today?
Yeah.
Pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's such a mass, you know, want for information on that too. I mean, that's really every single day, just tons of questions just about how I, you know, record and about the cat percussion and all that stuff. There's a lot of information that is wanted in that topic. So.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Well, it's always fun to have people of different points of view, you know, on the podcast, but just in general. You know, I like talking to people who have a different niche, you know, I guess you could say, and you know, and exposing people to different things they wouldn't necessarily be exposed to, which is important, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, let me just go and hit stop. So we'll see you guys later.